27.3%. Hey, percents and decimals. When you are, okay, changing percents and decimals, to write a decimal as a percent, you move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and then add a percent sign. When you are writing a percent as a decimal, you move the decimal place 2 places to the left, and take away the percent sign. Pretty simple, okay? So, how would I write 0.62 as a percent? Okay, Craig, look. 62%, okay? So I move this 2 spaces to the left, add a percent sign. That's all you have to do. How do you write 1 as a percent? Carter? Nope.
0.01.
What, Emma? 100%. The decimal's technically here, and there's technically zeros back behind this. So you write it as 100%. Anytime you have a whole, you have 100%.
I thought you meant convert it to like the one up there. And that's like 0.6.
That's fine. What about 2.3? How do I write that as a percent, Jason?
230.
230%. Good. So I move this decimal twice. There's a 0 here, and I get 230%. Beautiful. Okay. Now, let's talk about writing the following as decimals. We're going to take the percent and change it to a decimal. How do I change 75% to a decimal? E? Okay, yeah. I move the decimal that's here this way, and you get 0.75. How do you change 0.4% into a decimal? Carter? Which way are you moving the decimal?
I'm sorry. It should be 0.004.
Yes. So technically there's another 0 we have to add there. So it's 0.004. Okay? How do you change 168% to a decimal, Emma?
1.68.
Yep. I'm moving the decimal from here. So I get 1.68. Good. Can you handle changing them back and forth? It's not too bad. Just don't get tricked up with some of those ones. You might have to add zeros in because you have to move your decimal twice. Okay? Now, how do we write the following as percents? How do we change fractions to percents? What do you think we need to do? What, Kate? Yeah, let's put it into a decimal first, and then we can change it to a percent from there. So what is 3/8? Who knows what 3/8 is in a decimal?
3/8?
Is it 0.12? Is it 0.125?
Can you just do 3 divided by 8?
Not 1, 3/8.
I was going to multiply.
0.4. 0.8.
You can use it.
0.375.
0.375. So if this changes to 0.375, but the question says change it to a percent, how do I change that to a percent now? What, E? Okay, so what does it come out to be? No? 37.5%. So it's a 2-step process, okay? 2-step process. What does 5/3 come out to be as a decimal? What does 5/3 come out to be as a decimal?
1. Isn't it?
1.6 repeated, right? Okay?
Yeah.
So it comes out to 1.6 repeated like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I could round it to like 1.67, right? Okay. So if I round it to 1.67, what do I do from there? I do what? Okay, so I move it to the right. Now look at this. Here's what we're going to do. This is what's tricky. When it's repeated, I don't want you to round. I want you to put 1.66 with that repeated sign over it. Here's why. Because when I move that decimal, I get 166, right? What would be next in that number?
169?
What does this tell me?
6.5.
That it's repeating. So what comes next? A 6. So if I change this to a percent, I get 166.6 repeated percent. Okay? So you want to keep the repeated ones so that you remember to add it to the end. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? Remember to add it so that you get it. Turn around. Put his stuff back. Put his gun back. Don't touch his stuff. Okay. So you get 166.6%. What is 5/12? How do I change that first?
It's magic.
Divide 5 divided by
Okay, and what do you get?
0.4.
You get 0.416. Okay. On that one,
I found my fake earphone.
is it repeated or not?
The 6 is.
The 6 is repeated. Thank you. So I get 4.16 repeated. Now let's change that to a percent. What do I do? Okay, Carter. What?
You move it over to the decimal over to the right 2 places.
Okay.
And then, so there's 41.6 repeated percent.
Good. Don't get rid of those repeateds. Okay. Keep the repeateds for me. Okay. So the first two things in the green and red should be super simple. Writing percents or writing decimals to percents, writing percents to decimals. This is a two-step process. First, you have to change fractions to decimals. Then we can change them to percents. Okay? They all are equal to each other. They're all equivalent. The last thing we're going to do is now apply it to word problems. Okay. The African pygmy hippo is the smallest species of hippopotamus. Suppose a common adult hippo weighs 5,600 pounds. An adult pygmy hippo's weight is 10.5% of the common adult hippo's weight. Stop. How much does the adult pygmy hippo weigh? How can I figure that out?
I know how you say that. Well, what is you?
What's your guess, Mike, I guess?
So the 10.5% when you just move the decimal twice the left.
You want to move it twice to the left? No, because here's the deal. I want to figure out what 10.5% of 5,600 is. Because it tells me that it's 10.5% of the normal hippopotamus, okay? So if my normal hippopotamus weighs 5,600 pounds and the pygmy weighs 10.5% of that, how do we set that up?
You put 2.56 or whatever.
Cross them off.
Okay, you want to set up cross multiplication? You can set up cross multiplication if you want.
I'm just not sure.
You can do it one of two ways. Okay, we can do this one of two ways. We can do it like we did yesterday where we had what we know or like what the weight is over the total, which is 5,600, equals my percent of 10.5 over 100. We can do it that way. Or we can set it up to say 0.105. We can move this decimal to it, like we can move it so that it becomes not a percentage, and then just multiply it by the 5,600. You can do it either of those ways, okay? Because if I do it this way, watch. What is 100A equals 5,600 times 10.5. Stop talking.
58,800.
Okay. And then you divide by 100 and you get A to equal what?
588.
588. Okay. Now, you can do it that way like we did yesterday. You can set it up and cross multiply. That's cool. Or I can move it so that it's no longer a percent. It's a number now by moving it to a decimal. And I can multiply 0.105 times 5,600. What do you get?
1.05 times 56. I don't.
What do you get when you multiply it?
667.7.
No. What do you get when you multiply 0.105?
588.
588.
Huh? What's that in your ear?
Stop talking.
Stop talking.
Turn around.
Oh.
Okay. So either way, I get the correct answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You just choose whichever way you want to do it. Whatever's easiest for you. Okay?
Okay.
So your homework is right here on the board. Page 342. 13 through 57 odd, which means you should be rather busy during the rest of this bell.
Sure.